Well, hello and welcome everybody to this Monday, the 26th of November, 2018. I'm as always Dakian, and I'm here to show you some miniatures that I painted. And this week, I will say right off the bat, I have completed 14 minis. Sounds a lot, but it's all these rats. It was this Kickstarter from Midland Miniatures for rats, and more rats. And here at the front you can see some of the biggest rats. This one, I put the tree stump here on the base, partly to fill out the base, but also for scale. So you can see that this guy, this is as big as a horse. This is a honking huge rat. And I think, where's the other big ones? The other two big ones, this one, where I have this little gravestone there, also for scale. And also, yeah, he's... the skull was included in the sculpt that he's clutching. And for the mutant two-headed one, I added some skulls on the base from his victims. Now, as you can tell, I've tried to paint these various shades of gray and grayish brown. Didn't go for straight black because that doesn't read well on a mini, I think. Apart from these really huge ones, let's see, put these back, there's two different sizes. There's the just giant ones and the extra giant ones, kind of dire rats, I suppose. And yeah, these are kind of speed painted, not terribly detailed, because it's not the kind of minis that players are going to pick up and look carefully at. They're just going to go, ick, rats, kill them, or run away, and not want to deal with them so much. But I think I probably don't need to ever paint another giant rat again in my life. Not for gaming purposes anyway. I don't, as in I don't need them. I mean, if not normal rats. I mean, if I come across some models that are like cool mutated rats or magical rats in some way, maybe I'll pick those up. But for now, I'm gonna say enough rats. Yeah. Still picks at the end, but let's move on. Because even though these are all that I've finished in the past week, I have been sort of productive in moving some other projects along a bit closer to completion. So let's look at those. And here we see the work table, where this is not a realistic, this is not how I work. I don't have all this stuff lined up at the same time, but for the purpose of the video, I've lined everything up to show you. And surprise, surprise, I've actually done some work on these two guys, the Guinea Pig Samurai and the Frog King. Done the work on the faces, the eyes. And you'll recall it's from this DVD set, which I've been working my way through. And you can tell it's this guy and that guy. And out of the stuff that is shown on this DVD set, I've now actually either done or chosen to skip most of it. I skipped some of the finer freehand work and the non-metallic metal gold for Tywin's armor. The only thing left I have to choose is whether or not I want to do the non-metallic metal steel on this guy's sword. And I think I do. I think I want to try it. Even though I kind of poo-poo NMM, I feel it's not really suitable for my style because I never paint for display, really. I just paint for gaming, and true metallics are better for that. Even people like Marika Reimer on this very DVD says that she herself, when she paints for gaming purposes, uses true metallics. She does NMM for her the work that's going to be competition or photographed for a miniature company or something like that. But on the other hand, NMM is a technique, and you can always learn something by practicing a new technique, even if you don't want to use it. very much, you can learn something which can be useful in other applications, perhaps. So I think I'm going to practice it. What else do we have here? We have the two minis that I got from Westphalia. This one simply has some sloppy base coats thrown onto it. It looks kind of drab. I'm going to punch it up a little bit when I highlight it. And shade, of course, increase the contrast. This is the sort of evil tree kind of thing, which has been base coated, and it's actually the way I usually work with wood and with bone. I've added these skulls to the base here, is that I highlight everything up first and then I shade down with washes or glazes. So that's the next stage. It has been highlighted very much in some cases, and now it needs to be toned down. And in the back row we have the Eternal Champion figures, which now have some metallics. These are, of course, true metallics. I've tried to keep it very, very dark here on Elric. This is just a few base coats, I mean, but even so, you can perhaps see a difference between, let's see, if I bring these to the front, can you see the difference between Elric's metal on his sword and Moonglum's? Elric's is supposed to look a bit darker because, of course, Stormbringer is black. And now, I you know, painting a matte black sword would look really stupid. So I'm not going to do that. I would have liked to be able to get some color into the runes. Unfortunately, the runes are not... There's a hint of runes sort of sculpted into the blade here, but it's not very clear. I don't know if I can get like a red wash or something to go in there and be visible. I'll try. I'll tell you that. I will try to do something about that. Can't promise it'll work. Yeah. What do I expect to finish by next week? I don't know. I mean, probably these two guys at least. We'll see how fast everything else goes. I don't have a good prediction about that. But even so, I do want to add new projects. Let's see what I have in mind. Now, it's time to add a certain kind of project to the mix here, and you'll perhaps see what I mean if I bring this one out of the baggie. What is he? He's a Santa, a kind of an ugly Santa. He's kind of a big old Santa with a pilot's hat. We're moving into December. I mean, next week we will be in December, and December is the month of Christmas, and that means I need to start prepping some Christmas-themed minis. And I have pulled out these that I bought. I think I bought all of these last year, and I think these are in unmarked bags, but I think they're all from North Star Miniatures. And let's see where the focus is. This is another Santa. This is a more normal Santa, not in pilot gear. And here we have, well, I don't know, a sexy Santa elf, something like that. In this bag we have some bigger guys and some smaller guys. Let's see, we have these monstrous snowmen, abominable snowmen perhaps. This guy has a top hat for some reason. This one has no hat, but he has a neck thing. And this one has no clothing at all, but he's got branches for arms, and he's got buttons. And then there's two penguins, for whatever reason. Rather big-beaked penguins. Not sure why. And finally, in this collection, I think I bought these as a set, I believe. It was just all the Christmas stuff. You might be asking yourself, what the dickens are these? If you are, even with that clue, there's no hope for you. You need to improve your cultural capital if you can't tell what these are. Anyway, yeah, this will be prepped, I think, hopefully in time for next week and the start of the month leading up to Christmas. You know, here's a random idea that struck me as I was kind of playing around with my various basing materials and trying to add stuff to some larger bases to make them more interesting. I came across this in one of my collections of basing things, and I thought, hey, this isn't a piece for a base. This is like a base in itself. I mean, the underside of it is perfectly round. It wasn't scored like this. I've scored it myself to make gluing easier. In fact, I looked around and I decided that it fits perfectly on top of one of these. This is a 32mm GW base. So, yeah, I'm just going to glue this on here, and this will make a scenic base, but I need a miniature to put on it. So I looked around, what do I have that's like slightly larger than human size, or at least seems slightly larger, and I found three options here. Now, these are all by the same manufacturer. These are all hassle-free minis. But here's the thing. I thought I would try to increase viewer engagement by letting you guys choose. I want you to vote in the comments which of these three you feel fits best on this base, and then I will put it on the base and paint it. Sound good? Okay, so here's the options. First we have, from the Sci-Fi Humans range, Maxine. This is probably the simplest of them. All I have to do here is cut off this tab. Now she's just a normal, it's probably 32mm scale mini. Probably she seems a bit larger than 28mm. But she has this very wide-legged stance, and you can see that she would actually fit pretty well on this base. If I hide the tab here behind it, you can see that it's pretty much in scale. She would work well. Next option, from the Undead Mutants range, we have Mutant Joe, who is a multi-piece model. Now, this guy is incredibly buff. His upper body is like unproportionate to his legs, and his legs are in several pieces because he's running, and you see his head. He also has a mohawk, just like Maxine, and he would be more, I don't know, perhaps he would be like taking off from this cliff. Maybe this leg is in the air, or maybe I would place it like he is running, something like this. Anyway, I think he would fit as well. And finally, from just the Humans range, we have the Steampunk Warrior, who's also a complex multi-piece kit. See here the body and the head, and the arms are separate, and there's, I think, some sort of back piece that goes on here. But he's not quite as wide, but he's really tall, and so he needs a base this big. I mean, all of these three of these minis would require at least a 30mm base. They would, none of these would fit on a 25mm. That's for sure. So he's kind of like a wasteland warrior, don't you think? Yeah. So anyway, like I said, sound off in the comments in this little base with a bit of cliff and some dirt and the skull of some weird monster. What sort of miniature would you think fits there? Maxine, Mutant Joe, or the Steampunk Warrior? The choice is yours. It's about that time again when it's time to close out the episode. And I'm doing it with seeing what the mailman brought me. And it is another Kickstarter. And this is brushes. This is the Artist's Opus brush Kickstarter, which delivered in this little box. You can see it says Artist's Opus there. And here this little piece of wood is probably just to keep it still during transport. I can throw this away, I think. Likewise, this little bit of advertising. I don't know, all the text is really small. I'm gonna have to get my reading glasses. What does it say? Care information. Where they're trying to sell me their own brand of conditioner and cleanser, for example. And it's been checked. Oh well, that's nice, I suppose. And here we have a selection of brushes, plus I think this is some brush soap. Yeah. This is a brush soap, and bunch of brushes from size 000, 0001, and 2. It also came with a little brush, not so much a stand, but I suppose it's when you're painting, if you're laying the brush down on your table, you can rest it there, and so it won't touch the table, I guess. And a ballpoint pen marked with this. Yeah. So why on earth did I back for even more brushes? This is I already have 3 Kickstarters worth of brushes, and I'm still using the first of those. And you know, I just don't use up brushes that quickly because I take care of them. As Mini Wargaming Chris says, take care of your brushes and they'll take care of you. And I do, and they do. But the thing that made me go for these anyway was the promise that they have a different handle. It's not, I mean, some brushes have a really thick handle all the way, some have a very thin all the way. This one has, it's tapered in this end, but then it sort of goes out in the kind of bulbous shape just before the ferrule. And this is to make it more comfortable to hold, supposedly. Now, I don't know how well this works because right now I'm holding it kind of like a pencil, and I don't actually hold it that way. When painting, I'm holding it more like this, where I'm really tight in, and I don't. It's not resting in my hand like this. It's usually up here. So I don't know how much it'll help. And the bristles, well, they seem nice. I haven't really experimented with them, and these will probably just languish in obscurity for several years while I use up all the other brushes I have until I get around to these. But they don't go bad over time, I don't think. I wonder if this one fits in here. Probably not. No, I can't close it. But I can start using this, actually. I can use this with my current brushes if I want to. And the pen, well, it's a pen. Can always be useful. So anyway, don't expect a review anytime soon. I'm still using my Games and Gears brushes, those double brushes, double-ended brushes from years ago, and I'm kind of happy with them. I mean, they're starting to fray a little bit. Maybe by next year, next summer or something, they'll have reached the end of their lifespan, and I'll start using, for example, the WAMP brushes, or WAMP, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, W-A-M-P, which is a British company that I got some brushes from in a Kickstarter. I also have another Kickstarter, I think they were called the Ichiban brushes, which were really, really big chunky handles, and the big idea there is that the handles are two-part, you pull them apart, and you reverse the brush, and you store it inside the handle to protect it. And this is mostly for transport. It's supposedly useful if you're carrying your brushes along with you to paint somewhere else. But I mean, something like this would also work well for protecting brushes while in transport. So I don't know if it's needed. But anyway, now I have them. Now you've seen them, and I can lay them to rest. So that was an end of another jam-packed episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Click like, that's always appreciated. Comment if there was anything in particular you wanted to talk about. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I will join you again in a week. Until then, Dakian is signing off.